Hello, greetings. What's happening? I'd mentioned this lens on a few occasions before. It is the absolute best lens that I own. It's the Carl Zeiss Distagon 35mm F2. Not made anymore. Thanks to the ignorance of Carl Zeiss, they have since switched to an ergonomically stupid design with a rubber O-ring, which of course will degrade with hand oil, and is a lot bigger and a lot more user unfriendly. This lens is only going to keep increasing in price, actually. Yeah, the price has increased since I mentioned it too, by the way. But I wanted to talk about a lens that I hadn't shown you before. It's big brother. It is the Carl Zeiss Distagon 35mm F1.4. And as you can see here, check out the next video after this. I'm going to go the rundown of best Zeiss lenses for your Nikon, or even for your Canon for that matter, really. There are actually a couple avenues that Zeiss kind of fails at. Their mid-range macro lens is a failure, and their ultra-wides, while incredibly expensive, are generally not that good. They have a lot of chromatic aberration. The Distagon 35mm F1.4, the big brother of the F2. Why would you buy it? And oh my God, it is insanely heavy and insanely expensive. New price on it is currently $1,800. I think $1,822, I believe. Still at current production, unlike its little brother, my favorite lens ever, the Distagon, period, of any manufacturer. So why would you buy this lens? And by the way, it's, yeah, I can't remember the exact weight on it. Yeah, 830 grams. It's 11 elements on this particular lens. Nice 1.4. It certainly blows the hell out of the Nikkor 35mm F1.4G, which renders really flat and has poor micro contrast. Micro contrast on the 35mm F1.4 is incredible. It only has one real defect, and that is below F1.4. If you got a high contrast scene, like say a little white flower that's lit by the sun, you'll have some really nasty longitudinal chromatic aberration, i.e. some purple and or green fringing depending on the scene. That's only if there's heavy contrast. But I mean, that could easily be taken out in post. But the nature of these low element count prime lenses that are absolutely exquisite like this, that have far better color saturation, a far better IQ, depth and color rendition than its equivalent in the Nikkor range, which, yeah, while it's an autofocus lens, it's also plastic and it ain't really going to last that long. This is one of those lenses, and by the way, I mean, that lens is not really any cheaper than this one. I mean, it's cheaper by about $100 basically. But I mean, it's plastic and it's got a motor in it that's going to break. This is one of those lenses that you would actually pass down to someone else after you croak, because this is all glass and all metal, and it is a pure, exquisite German design perfection, made in Japan, of course, but it's absolutely exquisite to use as a manual focus lens. Realistically, now, like I said, you can buy this lens used for about $1,000 to $1,100. That's on the absolute bottom end, and really the 35mm F2, while really just a hair sharper, not by much, you can get for about $650. So it's really almost twice as much. So you're looking about $650, $700 at the bottom versus $1,100 on the Zeiss 35mm F1.4. Why necessarily would you want this huge honking beast? And my God, it is not only huge and honking, but if you plan on buying it new, you know, you might as well put one of your children up for sale, because it is certainly, it's not cheap at all. Nice metal lens hood too, split ring design. It's very easy to manually focus this lens. I was actually trying to think. Oh, yeah, I'm always thinking about 1,000 things at once. I'm kind of scatterbrained. Pardon for that. Why would you want this over the F2? Well, I mean, this is still my best lens. I mean, I've got two of these, and I'll never part with it. I mean, You know, it's going to stay with me until I die. I don't care if I end up homeless. I'm still keeping this Carl Zeiss 35mm F2. It's just incredible. It's just the tits. I mean, it's beyond anything. Why necessarily? The creamy bokeh, the actual dreamy beautiness of this lens below f2, which is the widest open aperture on this lens. Is it really worth an additional $500, $600 used? Obviously, this isn't sold anymore new. The 35mm f2 just gone. And the answer is yes and no. I mean, is it worth $1,800 new? Well, that's questionable. If you need it, plan on using it a lot for, you know, in business, and it's a tax write-off, then it's no big deal. The micro contrast, the depth rendition, the saturation on this 35mm F1.2 is incredible. It is slightly flatter than the 35mm F2. The 35mm F2 is really hard to get wrong. The very cheap 35mm F2 D-Series AF Nikkor, which is like $180, mint like new used, is an incredible lens and a must-buy for anybody. It's you know, the value on it is phenomenal. It's kind of hard to mess up a 35, and if anybody's going to create a perfect lens, which basically doesn't exist, and this is actually this and like the Fuji 16mm and 2 or 3 other lenses are actually the only lenses that I could actually state. To me, you know, how much you say that is subjective and how much is objective, you'll have to be the decider on that, but that's the closest thing to perfection that I've ever used, and you know damn well I've used a lot of lenses. But anyway, below f2 for the use of this for creamy bokeh, nice shallow depth of field, and this is a nice pseudo macro. I've always called it pseudo macro. I mean, actually able to get in there really close with this particular lens. Fit and finish is very typical of Carl Zeiss. Is it kind of expensive at $1,800? Yeah, I certainly would say so. And I don't know what is bigger, its weight and size or its actual price. But that's it. I wanted to show you this lens. You'll see a close-up of it in the next video, along with a lineup of my favorite Zeiss lenses. For Nikon, and I've actually used this with an adapter on the Fuji X-T10 and X-T1, and it's beautiful. Nothing beats focus peaking on dropping this on a Metabones adapter and using it on the Fuji. Obviously, you would never want to dangle this off the front of your Fuji because this lens is just insanely expensive. I mean, it's insanely heavy and expensive, with a weight basically right near 2 pounds almost. But that is it. The still current production Big Brother to the 35mm f2, the Carl Zeiss Distagon 35mm f1.4. You would call this the creamy bokeh Big Brother goodness to the Carl Zeiss 35 f2. Slightly lacking in IQ to the 35 f2, but not really by much. Micro contrast is almost identical. Just an exquisite lens, but it's damn expensive. I mean, to get the creamy bokeh on this at 1.4, you really are paying a serious premium for this lens. So anyway, thanks for watching. I'm going to hook my microphone, and appreciate you watching. Okay, bye. Someone told me to get a remote. I have a remote to turn my camera off, but this would be the time that you shut the video off.